Hello and welcome to part 8 in my series on self-hosted implementation of Omeka for librarians. In this video, we're going to talk about using SFTP clients and how to install themes. I find Omeka to be somewhat similar to WordPress in many respects, though one area where it really diverges is installing a theme is not quite as easy. It's not a point and click sort of installation. So we're going to look at how to install a theme today, and there are a couple of ways of doing that, and I've chose to use SFTP, which is Secure File Transfer Protocol, or SSH File Transfer Protocol. I've chose to use this because I find it really useful when I'm editing CSS files or PHP files or that sort of thing. I can use an image or a code editor that I'm more familiar with. So we're going to look at how to do that today. So by the end of this video, my goal is to make this theme, which is what we have installed. This is kind of the default Omeka install. I want to make my theme not look like this, but instead look like this, which is the theme I developed the theme I developed on a previous development server. So what we're looking at right here is actually Eastern Oregon University's production version of our digital archives. So the way that we would go about installing a theme on our Omeka site is we first want to go to the Omeka website, omeka.org, and under the link for add-ons, we'll click that. We're given the option of themes. So you notice there's also some plugins over here. So much like WordPress, you can install plugins, and these are important and will come into play in later videos. But today we are just going to look at themes, and you'll see that we actually have a couple of options here. We can either look at all themes or we can design a new theme. I'm going to click on Design a New Theme quickly, and just mention that I had thought that perhaps this was the way I wanted to go, but it turns out it's a little more complicated than I had wanted. So what I ended up doing was they kind of suggest that maybe you could look at an existing theme, and what I did was I installed the seasons and then went through the process of editing the CSS files to make it look the way I wanted it to. So this site here is actually built off of themes, and they look drastically different. And the reason for that is I did a lot of CSS customization. We won't get into what I did simply because it would be very time consuming and would probably confuse things. But if you're familiar with CSS and how to edit those sorts of files, you can make your site look pretty much however you want using an existing theme as the framework. So we're going to go back to themes here, and then we can look at all themes. And I'm not going to install seasons on my production server, and the reason for that is I'm actually going to move the theme folder from my from my development server to the production server. So this is what themes looks like without all of the heavy customizations that I did in my CSS files. It really did provide a good framework. I really liked the way it was set up. And I think what we'll do is actually look at how to install this Netscape theme. One way of doing that is using our SSH client PuTTY. As you may recall from other videos, we could use wget and download our zip file that way. But I'm not going to do that. I would, prefer to do it through the command line, but this is just a way for me to demonstrate how to use the SFTP client to do your downloads. So the first thing I'm going to do is just download this Netscape. I'm then going to drag and drop it onto my desktop. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just extract all of those, and I use 7-zip. You can use whatever software you want to use, and I'm just going to say extract here. And so now on the desktop I should have somewhere Netscape. So here it is. I have that. Now the next thing we need to do is make sure that we have an FTP client. There are a couple of them out there, and I don't really have a preference. For whatever reason, I tend to use WinSkip more often than anything else. I think it was just loaded on my computer when I started working here, and I just started using it, and it works the same as Filezilla. The problem is, if you're using something other than Windows, you will not be able to use WinSkip. So I'm going to recommend Filezilla for this video. Just because it's universal. You can run it on Mac, you can run it on Linux, you can run it on Windows. So it's a really easy process. I already have it installed on my computer. It's just a matter of clicking the Filezilla download client here on their website at filezilla-project.org. So when you do that, and if you run into problems, there's always other YouTube videos you could consult to find out what's going on. But you shouldn't have any problems as long as you have admin privileges on your computer. So once you've downloaded Filezilla, it's just a matter of opening it up. And so here you can use, for host, you can use your IP address, or you could use your domain name. So in this case, we want to look at my production server, which is archives.library.eou.edu, and then we'll put in our username and then password. And then, very important here, you need to put in the port. If you don't, it probably won't connect. So this port is port 22, unless things were configured differently on your installation. But if you've been following along in these videos, it should be port 22. And then we'll click on Quick Connect. So now we have been brought to the home directory of libadmin. And in the past videos, in order to get here, you may recall that we used the command cd, change directory, and nothing else, and it would bring us here. Now if we use the command cd ... it would go to home, and then if we used cd ... from that directory, we would go to this root directory. So this is what is considered the root directory, and this is where we need to go to get to our Omeka installation. So as you may recall, that is in the var directory. So from the root directory, we're going to var. And then, as you may recall, here we have a www directory, which we want to go to. And then we have the HTML directory. And then so from here we can see our Omeka install. And when we want to include themes, we would go to the themes directory. And so here we'll see that Seasons is already installed. This is the one that I had beforehand. I'm actually going to go ahead right now and right click on that, and I'm going to delete it. And yes, I really do want to delete that. And the reason for that is the theme that I have on my development server is also called Seasons, and I don't want two directories with the same name. So we'll get to that in a little bit. But right now, what we want to do is load the Netscape theme that we had on our that we left on our desktop. So I'm going to go to my desktop, and then here we have we'll find the Netscape theme directory. If I double click on that, oh, sorry, we actually want to go back. And so from here, we can move the Netscape theme into the themes folder. And so now we have the Netscape theme on our production server. And so the next thing I will need to do is go to the admin site, and let's see. So we want to go to the admin site, and to get there, we put in either our IP address or our URL. So this is my production server. It's archives.library.eou.edu, and then /admin, and that's going to bring you to a login page. And you'll just use the username and password that you created when you first set up Omeka. So as soon as you log in, you'll see this page, and what we want to do is go to Appearance. And from here, we're able to pick our theme. So our current theme is Thanks Roy, and we have other themes that we can add, or we have our Netscape theme that we just added using the SFTP server or client, and we can click on Use this theme. Now, had we chosen any other themes and gone through the same process, those themes would have appeared here, and you can put in multiple ones. You don't have to, there's no limit to how many themes you can put in here. It's just we have to initiate them once they're here. So I no longer want to use the Thanks Roy. I want to use the Netscape theme. So if I click on Use this theme, the theme has successfully been changed. So now if we go to our site, this is what the Thank You Roy theme looks like. And if I go ahead and refresh this, I now have the Netscape theme. So it's pretty easy to install a theme, and like I said, it's a little different than something like WordPress, simply because you do have to get into the server to add these things. So the next thing I want to do is go into my development server using SFTP. So I'm going to close this session out, and then I'm going to open the Filezilla client. And so my host there is dev2.library.eou.edu. And I think my username there, and we want port 22, and I can click on Quick Connect. So we have connected to my development server, and it has brought me to my home folder. So we want to get into the root folder, which is up here. And then from the root folder, we need to go to var, to www, to HTML, to themes. And so here, here is my old seasons theme. And so this is the one that I went in, and I'm just going to click on that quickly. I'm going to come into themes, and then every theme has all of these various options. We don't exploring all these is kind of outside of the scope of this tutorial, but I do want to point out that kind of the big one to look at is CSS. So okay, so from the seasons folder and in the CSS directory, we have a list of style sheets that we can edit. And in order to do the editing, I just would come in here, view edit, and then I am able to come in and manipulate things so that they look the way I want. And I have to admit, I spent a lot of time on that to make things look different. So I'm just going to minimize that. So seasons is the directory that we're after here. And what I'm going to do is simply drag it and drop it to here in my onto my desktop. And the reason for that is I want to drag and drop it now into my production server. So I'm going to close out this session of Filezilla. Yes, I do. I didn't actually make any edits. I think this might be why I prefer WinSkip now, is I'm more familiar with how things are edited and how they're saved. It just takes a little practice to get used to different programs. So I'm going to go back to Filezilla. I'm going to go to my dev. Oops, nope, that's not where I want to go. I want to go to archives.library.eou.edu, and port 22. Okay, so now I can click into the root directory, and then I'll scroll down to var, and then I'll scroll down to www and HTML and themes. And so now we can go to the desktop, and in desktop I should find the folder for seasons, and there it is. So now I'm just going to drag and drop it into the themes folder, and I should be good now. So if I go to my admin module, so currently we have Netscape, and if I refresh this, I now have the seasons theme, and all I need to do is click on use this theme, and the theme has been successfully changed. And so now it's a matter of going to my site. So let's see, I'm archives.library.eou.edu, and so now my the seasons theme that I had worked on has been uploaded, and we're now using that. And of course you can see that there's a bit of a difference between my production server install and my my development server install. And that has everything to do with settings. So if we go back to the back end, I can fix this by going to configure theme, And there's lots of videos out there on how to use the back end. I've been trying to focus more on the technical details on how to administer the server and all that. And essentially what I'm going to want to do here is go to my development server's admin module. So now I've come here to my development server, and so what we're seeing here, I'm in the seasons theme. So what I need to do is go through and select all of the things that I have here. Really, one of the big things is right off the bat, I'm going to want to copy all of this. So this is all of the sorry, we want to go into HTML. So what I want to do, this is my home page, and I have a parallax, and that's the image that stays static when you scroll, and the screen kind of goes up and over it. And so I'm going to cancel that, and I'm going to go to the appearance of here, and so home page text. I'm going to paste that in. Oops. And again, we want to select HTML. So this is nice. We can do some HTML editing here. And so here on the home page, I just unchecked all of these. It just didn't suit my needs. And I think if we go ahead and save and go back to the page, actually, I don't like to do this in Firefox or in Chrome, because Chrome does some weird caching that makes it so that you have to clear the cache every time. So I'm going to use Firefox for this. I'm going to reload the page, and so here we go. We have it looks much more similar to what we had on the development server. In any case, there are plenty of videos out there that kind of talk about how to use the appearance part of changing the theme. So I would look up those videos. And that's basically all I wanted to show in this video, was how to upload themes. I'm not sure when the next video will be. We're currently waiting to figure out what our data is going to look like, and once we do, we're going to start populating our records into this new archive. The first thing we're going to do, I think, is, and I probably won't ever do a video on how to add a record, simply because there's already a bunch of them out there. But one thing I would really like to do is go through a tutorial that shows how you can do batch uploads. And I will also do another video on installing plugins, and we'll go over a few of them that I think are kind of neat. So we can look forward to those two videos, but like I said, I'm not quite sure when those will be up and ready. So I hope this series so far has been helpful. If you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to chat with people about this stuff. So you know, if you do, let me know. And thanks for watching.